Shocking exposé. Torture chambers in America's backyard, detainees chained, starved, and forgotten. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crowning Thoughts. If you're new here, these are audio episodes you can pop on while you're scrubbing those dishes, folding laundry, or just chilling out on the couch. No need to stare at a screen, just listen in and soak up the info without missing a beat. Today, we're diving deep into something that's been flying under the radar but needs to be shouted from the rooftops: the nightmare conditions in U.S. immigration detention centers. Specifically, we're talking about places like the South Florida Detention Facility, better known as Alligator Alcatraz, and the Chrome Detention Center in Florida. These aren't just holding pens, they're sites of outright human rights abuses that sound like something out of a horror movie. I've got the facts lined up from reliable reports, and trust me, this is stuff that demands attention. Let's start with the basics. Alligator Alcatraz isn't some made-up name for dramatic effect. It's the grim nickname for a facility plunked down in the middle of the Florida Everglades at the old Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport site, about 43 miles west of Miami. Opened in July 2025 amid a bunch of hype, it's run by ICE, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and it's meant to hold people caught up in the immigration system. But from day one, it's been a hotspot for complaints about brutal treatment. A recent report from Amnesty International, released on December 4, 2025, paints a picture that's hard to stomach. They visited the place and talked to detainees, and what they found: cruel, inhuman, and degrading conditions that cross the line into torture. Just imagine this and make believe it is your situation: detainees being thrown into what's called the box. It's a tiny metal cage, about 2 feet by 2 feet, yeah, you heard that right, smaller than a closet. People are shackled inside, chained to the ground so they can't even sit or stand properly. They're left there for hours, sometimes up to 24, baking under the Florida sun with no water, no shade, just exposed to the heat, humidity, and swarms of mosquitoes. One detainee described it as feeling like you're in a circus lion's cage, but without any mercy. Guards reportedly use this as punishment for minor stuff, like complaining about food or asking for medical help. And get this, there's no real oversight. Families can't even track where their loved ones are because the facility doesn't properly register people in ICE's system. That leads to what experts call enforced disappearances, where folks just vanish into the system. No calls, no visits, nothing. Amnesty's investigators heard stories straight from the source. Detainees yelled out from their cells, desperate to share what's going on. One talked about a guy who passed out in the cage. Everyone was screaming for help, but guards just stormed in, shoved people around, and dragged the man out on a stretcher. No follow-up, no explanation. Another mentioned hearing screams when someone died at Alligator Alcatraz, but since there's no transparency, nobody knows the full story. Medical neglect is rampant too. People with serious health issues, think diabetes, injuries from their journeys, are ignored. Complaints go unanswered, and folks are left to suffer. The report says this isn't just bad management, it meets international definitions of torture under human rights law. Now, let's shift over to Chrome Detention Center, another ICE facility in Miami-Dade County. This one's been around longer, it's one of the oldest in the country, but the problems are just as bad, if not worse. A Human Rights Watch report from July 2025 detailed abusive practices there, along with 2 other Florida spots: Broward Transitional Center and Glades County Detention Center. At Chrome, overcrowding is off the charts. Designed for about 600 people, it's been holding nearly 3 times that at points, with folks packed in like sardines. Detainees sleep on floors or even in buses for days, no AC, no toilets that work properly. Toilets overflow, fecal matter seeps into sleeping areas. It's disgusting and dangerous, leading to health risks like infections and disease outbreaks. Guards' behavior: straight up violent and racist, according to multiple accounts. Detainees report being pushed, beaten, and verbally abused. One story from the Amnesty report: a detainee complained about pain, and instead of help, he was thrown into solitary confinement for weeks. Solitary or the hole is another big issue. People are locked up alone for 22 to 24 hours a day, sometimes for months, with lights on constantly, messing with their sleep and mental health. Physicians for Human Rights has called this endless nightmare, saying it amounts to inhuman treatment. And food. Inadequate portions, often rotten or insufficient, leaving people hungry and weak. Water access is spotty too. Imagine being dehydrated in that Florida heat. These aren't isolated incidents. Complaints have been piling up. In April 2025, the Associated Press reported surging abuse claims at Chrome as arrests ramped up under tighter immigration policies. Detainees feel practically kidnapped, with no access to lawyers or basic rights. Florida Rising noted 3 deaths in ICE custody at Chrome just this year, linked to neglect. And it's not just men, women, trans folks, and even people with legal status or citizenship get caught in this net. A report from Americans for Immigrant Justice, submitted to the UN Human Rights Council in April 2025, documented egregious abuses, including for Latinx trans immigrants who face extra torture in detention. What's even more frustrating is the pushback from officials. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, debunked some hoaxes back in August 2025, claiming Alligator Alcatraz meets standards and is clean. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' office dismissed Amnesty's findings as fabricated. But a federal judge in Miami ordered the facility to wind down in August 2025 after environmental groups sued, only for it to get blocked on appeal by Trump-appointed judges. As of December 18, 2025, a request to close it was denied. Meanwhile, social media is buzzing with outrage posts from Amnesty USA. Journalists like Liv Caputo and activists highlight the ongoing torture. One ex-post described it as a copy of Guantanamo, with extended solitary and that punishment box. This isn't just a Florida problem, it's nationwide. Human Rights Watch and others point to similar issues in Louisiana, California, and beyond. A November 2025 lawsuit by immigrants at California's largest detention center alleged abuse, excessive isolation, and denial of basics. The Committee Against Torture has criticized U.S. expedited removal procedures that risk sending people back to danger, and transfers between facilities. Freedom for Immigrants calls them trafficked and tortured, isolating people further from family and support. Why does this matter? Because these are human beings, folks fleeing violence, poverty, seeking a better life. Many shouldn't be detained at all. They're asylum seekers with valid claims. But the system criminalizes migration, fueled by policies that prioritize detention over alternatives like community release. The 2025 Reconciliation Bill even boosted funding for private prisons, cashing in on this cruelty. Detentions surged in 2025, but deportations didn't keep up, leading to backups and worse conditions. It's illegal under U.S. and international law, the UN Convention Against Torture, the Constitution's ban on cruel punishment. Yet it continues. Reports from Solitary Watch and others compare it to Abu Ghraib or Gitmo, methods once used abroad now turned inwards. So, what's the takeaway? This has to stop. Lives are at stake, people are dying, suffering permanent harm. We can't look away. Now, for some advice, if you know someone in detention or at risk, connect with groups like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, or local immigrant rights orgs. Push your reps to demand investigations and closures. Support bills ending mandatory detention. Spread the word, share reports, sign petitions. Small actions add up. And if you're in Florida, vote for leaders who prioritize humanity over harsh enforcement. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Follow so we can stay connected. Your support matters more than you know, and I appreciate every moment you give to listen. Your support is important to me, and it helps me a lot. Feel free to like, support, and subscribe. Crowning Thoughts True Speaker Copyright 2025 by Santiago D.C. Maria, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution. I love you all and stay blessed. Thank you for listening. Love always. Santiago D.C. Maria.